So, this was Zombie Island. Somehow I'd been expecting something more sinister. Come on, Rio. Let's find that treasure.
No, thanks. I'm staying right here.
Oh, come on. You said yourself there's no zombies left.
Yeah, but that was while there was a big pile of seawater between me and this place. All we have now is this little bit between the boat and the shore, and I'm hanging on to it.
That Emily sure asks a lot of questions.
Rest man, this whole Emily business just isn't funny.
Look, we're obviously at cross purposes here. I'm talking about Emily Ketch.
Yeah, and so am I. She was my friend. Her aunts hated it, but we did move together, you know. She used to be real keen at hide and seek. It could take hours to find her. One time, the last time, it took days. She must have shouted and screamed herself hoarse, but there was nobody to hear her.
Where'd she hidden herself?
Captain Ketch's old sea chest. The only way to open it was from the outside.
Suddenly, I didn't feel so good. We never exchanged another word about Emily Ketch. It was too high. I couldn't get up there. There was nothing else I wanted to ask the boy. Rio's boat was strewn with fishing nets and tackle. Could I borrow your net?
Yeah, man, no problem. You planning on catching some fish?
Nope. I'm after a big rock. It was too high. I couldn't get up there.
I stumbled down dark stairwells for what seemed like forever, until suddenly I found myself, wow! In an abandoned London Underground station. This place must have been closed down decades ago. The machine needed to be fed a coin before it would operate. The slot was much too thin for my fingers. The slot was much too thin for my fingers. The blade was too thick for the narrow slot. The machine needed to be fed a coin before it would operate. The tray was empty. The machine looked like it had sold its last ticket a long time ago. It might have been a nice souvenir if it hadn't been torn and dirty. The slot was much too thin for my fingers. Lock stopped me getting into the cupboard. It looked just like the modern one. The date on the poster was before I was born. The machine wasn't about to weigh me for nothing. The tray was empty. The cup was empty. The machine needed to be fed a coin before it would operate. I'd probably break my neck if I climbed over the sleepers, or worse, a heel. The machine looked like it had sold its last ticket a long time ago. The tray was empty. The machine needed to be fed a coin before it would operate. The slot was much too thin for my fingers. A latch lock stopped me getting into the cupboard. A warning sign saying high voltage convinced me to leave the lights alone. It was too dangerous to start walking along the tracks. I remembered what always happened to Wile E. Coyote when he did that. There was no point in going back up there. It was too thick for the narrow slot. There was nothing very useful in my bag, just a single hair clip. I pushed the hair clip into the slot and whatever was stuck there disappeared into the machine. The tray was empty. I pulled out an old English penny. The machine wasn't about to weigh me for nothing. I put the old penny into the slot, the needle twitched rustily, and the machine spat out a card. The card just bent when I tried to force it down the edge of the cupboard door. The blade of the dagger just fitted between the door and the soft wood frame. The door gave slightly and then held firm. I remembered my student days when I regularly forgot my house keys. A wiggle with the thick cord between the frame and the lock, and the latch lifted. The train was my ride out of it. I could worry about not having a ticket when I got to the docks.
As soon as I stooped to investigate the hole, its inhabitant disappeared into the darkness. Nothing, I mean nothing, would... boar's expression said, "Forget it, Stobart." Steady, guy. It's just a monkey. What the? Steady, guy. It's just a monkey. initials carved into the stone read F.K. Frederick Ketch had been here. Joining the dots would make an equilateral triangle. The hill I was on had reminded me of a camel's hump as I'd climbed up it. Now I had to see what I could see. What the? Steady, guy. It's just a monkey.
What?
Stay cool, Stobart. It was only a bird. The end of the reed had been neatly bitten off. Now I knew what was living in there. A long-toothed, snarling, furry wild thing. The dart fitted snugly into the reed. Great. I was tooled up and dangerous. The boar looked determined to stop me from getting past. The boar looked determined to stop me from getting past. The creeper just came away from... The creeper didn't look like it would hold my weight. The net attached easily enough to the creeper and seemed secure. Great. I'd created some sort of creeper marker fishing net assembly. Sometimes I terrify myself with my creative genius. I'd successfully got the marker into a position near the top of the needle simply by using the kind of lateral thinking that can get you institutionalized. It was the marker which I had raised up the needle of rock. Heck, Ketch could have hidden his treasure anywhere. This island's full of hiding places. was an enormous cave. Every tourist for the last 3 centuries must... An ugly little cave. Didn't look like the sort of place you'd want to leave treasure. I could see the marker I'd fastened on the rock down in the forest, and right in line with it, the rock I was looking for.